Trailblazers.
My name is Jennifer Donaldson. I was a Met Police officer for 32 years.
My name is Dr. Alison Haydari and my rank is Temporary Deputy Assistant Commissioner.
It was 2 years after the Brixton riots, and I knew that it wasn't going to be an easy job, but I just thought I would at least apply and see where I went from there.
One of the reasons why I joined up in the first place is because I could see that there wasn't much diversity in policing, and I don't think I'd ever seen a black woman in uniform, and I thought then that if I can make a difference, then I would join, and that was all that time ago, and I'm still here.
Yeah, that was my sentiments. I had never seen a black officer, a black woman, but I thought it was something that I was going to. It was like jumping off a cliff, really.
Yeah.
I had no idea how I was going to land, where I was going to land, but it was a case of, okay, well, let's do it.
I was the only black woman at Southampton Central Police Station, which was incredible, and actually one of the reasons why I decided to join the police. I think we are in a better position than we were 24 years ago, but we still have a long way to go.
Both my parents from the Windrush generation, and it was very difficult. I remember my parents always talking about the signs that they saw when they went to view properties: no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. But my mother has always been sort of like the strong sort of stalwart in the house. The day when I started training school, she came with me to go to Hendon. And that's just before I walked through the gates. My mum told me, do not let them run you. And I kept that to this day.
Why did you become a police officer?
It was 2 years after the Brixton riots, and I really wanted to make a difference. In the late 80s to early 90s, there were a lot of black and Asian officers were leaving the police, and obviously the police were very worried about that. And the reason why they were leaving, because they didn't feel supported. There was quite a lot of opposition, you know, if I'm quite frank. Some people didn't like them because of their colour, some members of the public, and in particular some of their own colleagues didn't feel happy working with people who were you know, black and Asian, so they left.
Please may you explain more about the Brixton riots?
Right, well, before I joined, in London in particular, there were a lot of young black boys and men who were constantly being stopped by the police. And I think that the community just got really fed up. And there were a few other things that took place around there as well. There was a terrible fire with some young people sadly got killed in the fire. And I think that built up with all the tension. So that's the reason why the riots occurred.
Were you ever scared in your job?
There were times when I felt a little bit scared. At one particular time, I was a new officer and I was patrolling in this alleyway, and I can hear someone was on the roof. And when I looked up, this guy is staring at me, and he jumped off the wall, off the part of the roof in front of me. And I started to chase him. And I kept with him because I was really fit then. And I was on my radio, but I was a little bit scared at first. And I decided that I would just keep with him because I thought I didn't know if he had any weapons. And a few moments later, all my colleagues came and we arrested him. So I was very lucky because I was only probationer and everybody thought I was really good. My very first time that I was scared. There were other times, but you just get on with the job.
When did you stop being a police officer and why?
Well, I stopped in October 2015. I had completed 32 years in policing, and because I was on basically a 30-year contract, so I was able to retire. I know people say if you don't see it, you can't be it. I would like to disagree with that sometimes. I didn't see it. I just wanted to be it. So sometimes we have to be that trailblazer for ourselves.
I came into the UK back in 2002 and
fell in love with the bill. It was quite challenging for me, being from Jamaica, not knowing anyone. I know I wanted to become a police officer, but growing up in Jamaica and the difference in the policing culture, I know I could never have done it there. So I came into the UK, went through a lot of challenges. So when I received an email about joining the Met Police, I knew that this was my opportunity to be able to, support victims of domestic violence.
Hi, I'm Anaya.
Hi, I'm Eden.
What's your name?
Hello, my name is Stacia.
Do you have to be brave at your job?
You know what? It's good to be brave because we have to deal with some situations that are not so nice at times. So yeah, being brave, but we get really good training that allows us to do our job really well. You know, I'm training loads of self-defense moves, so I know a few things. A bit like karate.
Have you ever seen anybody lost?
A lot of times, children that have just been misplaced, like they're out shopping with their parents and they maybe wander off and then they can't find their loved ones. We work together to support each other. It was really difficult for me in the Met Police not having the people that were closest to me support my decision to join the police. I did not let that stop me. I pushed forward, and 17 years on, I'm still here doing it.
So the last police officer had this cross thing on the shoulder, the badge on the shoulder, and it had the cross on it.
Yeah.
And it meant that she only captured 5 or 4 burglars. So,
Oh, okay.
So I just been looking at the things, on the shoulders, and then recognizing that you don't have one and the other police officer did.
Okay, so we've got different ranks. So I'm a police constable, and you have like police sergeants. They will have different things on their epaulets. You've got inspectors. Theirs will be different. You've got, as you go up the ranks, it all changes.
What's the toughest part of your job?
I would say it's very hard because I'm a mom of 3. It's very difficult when I see like children that has been hurt and stuff like that. So those are some of the difficult bits, but being able to help victims and see the good outcomes, it makes it worthwhile.
My main role is phone extractions, so I extract data that is used for evidential cases. When I finished uni, I knew I had to get a job because I could not go home without a job. So I was fortunate enough to work in a secondary school as a science technician. And I realised I was telling children to push for their dreams, and my dreams always has been forensics. So I decided that I need to push myself again and not get comfortable. We didn't grow up in a very nice area. I saw police as a protective figure, and my first kind of forensic scenario is when I saw a big crime scene. I was at my uncle's house and I looked over the balcony and there was a suitcase on the floor, and some curious bystanders opened the suitcase and there was a dead body in there. At 10 years old, that was my first experience of like, oh, this is a crime scene. But instead of traumatizing me, I was really curious to seeing all the vans, people coming in, collecting evidence. And then that's what piqued my interest in forensic science. And I also started writing to Scotland Yard as a 12-year-old, just saying, these are the ways you can improve the police force. And I was just fascinated like how we can help to protect people. And I actually got a reply back, which I was really chuffed about, that someone listened to me in Scotland Yard about my interest. London is very diverse, and it's showing that aspects of the Met, because there's people out there who need help but are afraid to ask for help.
I never thought of becoming a police officer. That had never been part of the plan. I wanted to become a family lawyer or a human rights lawyer. However, one day my then fiancé comes home and he literally just says to me, why don't you apply to become a police officer? So that evening we sat down, I did the application form, and here I am today. I used to be an outreach officer a couple of years ago, and one of my jobs was to go into colleges, schools, and just speak to young youth about joining the police service. And sometimes you walk in there and they don't see you. All they see is a police officer in uniform. They feel like they can't become it. You have to see it to believe it. So seeing that smile in the young peoples that I have interacted with, and even all victims that I have come across. Now, again, I work with community stakeholders that come into Hendon and speak to our new recruits and share their lived life experiences. When you have that human interaction with them and they kind of take that uniform away from you and they see me, Evie, it's like, oh, you are a human being, you are a mother, you are a black girl, and I can have this personal relationship with them. One of my role models in the Met is Commander Brenya. She was gold for Notting Hill Carnival this year. When I see Commander Brenya, it makes me feel proud and confident that if she has been able to make it to that far, then I, Evie, can also make it there.
I always wanted to be a police officer, I think ever since I was really, really young. I grew up reading crime thrillers, watching thrillers on TV. I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to sort of go out and help people. And I thought the job was really, really interesting. So I wanted to do it from a really, really early age. I think my family in particular, particularly I think my dad had views around policing which were not necessarily positive. I think he had difficult interactions before I joined the police. So there was a real concern around whether it would be a good place for me to be, whether I'd feel somewhere that I'm supported. So I think my family were just concerned about what does this look like for me. I think having done it for 18 years, that view is different. I think they're really supportive. They love the fact that I'm in the police. They're really, really proud.
We had Evelyn and Peter in yesterday, I believe, and both mentioned you as a role model. Just wondering how that feels when you hear your colleagues describe you that way.
I think to be described as a role model, again, it's a huge privilege. I didn't sort of set out that I would come to be a role model. I just wanted to do the very best and enjoy the job and to make the most out of an incredible, varied and challenging career. But yeah, I think to have your colleagues describe you as a role model, again, I'm super proud of that. And it's something I want to do now. I really want to just, again, pay it forward and make sure that other colleagues can come forward and be supported in the way that I've been.
My name's Sabrina Sterling. I am a forensic service manager for physical forensics that covers things like firearms, fingerprints, biology, trace, DNA, and crime scene photography.
My name is Isabel, and what's yours?
My name's Sabrina. Nice to meet you, Isabel.
Nice to meet you too. Why did you want to be in forensics?
So I've always enjoyed science, like all different areas of science. I think one of the first presents they asked for was like kids can get those mini experiment kits. You get a little lab coat and the safety specs. That was one of the first things I asked for. And then I realised later on in life that you could combine science with police and help people. And that's what forensics is about, really.
Did anybody tell you that you couldn't do anything?
Nobody told me I couldn't do forensics, but there were kind of barriers from people about forensics in the police. So I'd say people kind of tried to put me off joining the police specifically for forensics. The most difficult part of my job has been reading stories, visiting scenes where terrible things have happened and having to kind of process that in my mind and walk away thinking, I can't believe that so many bad things can happen to so many good people.
There is a special place for black women within policing because of their lived experience and their abilities around leadership. Women are incredible. And I think that there are women like yourself and me soon when I retire who will be leaving the police service. We need to start thinking about the next generation of black girls coming in. That's what I would like to see. There's not enough black women in policing.
There isn't, they're not. We can always count them out of officers. When I retired in 2015, I was one of 14 women of colour, and I say women of colour, those women of all different backgrounds, from the rank of inspector and above in the Met, out of 31,000. So I can't. You're the highest ranking.
I am, and I am the only black woman who's the chief officer in the whole of the UK.
In the whole of the UK.
Yeah. So I need more black girls to be coming in, because there's a succession planning.
Yeah.
So important.
No, well, I joined the Met. I know it might sound cliche, to make a difference. I did not know what to expect, but I still went ahead because I knew somehow that I was going to make a difference. And there were times when young black men will come up to me, people who are my age, call me names like Sellout, Coconut, and other names. And I would always make sure that it was my duty to challenge them about the names that they called me. And we would have real in-depth conversations in the street. And there were times that we'd hug it out, we'd end up shaking hands, because they saw that I was just like them. And they realised that I didn't have any other agenda but to try and make a change from the inside. And 32 years later, although that there still needs to be a lot of change, I do know that I have made a difference.
Completely understand that you're feeling distrust potentially, and I'm not going to say anything to kind of diminish what you've gone through as an experience and how you feel about the police. Working within the police, I've had, positive, some challenging experiences, but not everyone is against you, and there's a lot of us in here trying to make a difference and trying to make that change and that positive influence. And despite what you may have gone through, if it's distrust or negative experiences, please believe that there are people that are on your side that are fighting for you as well.